The first time I met Adrian Hawthorne, I heard his thoughts. Arranged marriage in this era? Absolutely not. Then his eyes found me. I refuse. But she's so cute. I touched the butterfly mark on my face, wondering if he meant me. Vanessa Reed stood there in a pale, princess-style dress, her glossy hair arranged in perfect curls. She was the kind of girl people naturally described as pretty, so I assumed Adrian had to be thinking about her. Trying not to block his view, I quietly stepped aside. The voice followed me. Why is she moving? Even the mark on her face is adorable. It looks like a butterfly. I love butterflies. That was the moment my life began to change, although I did not understand it yet. A few minutes earlier, the Hawthorne family's butler had led Vanessa and me into the enormous entrance hall of their estate. Before Adrian came downstairs, the butler had warned us that the young master had a difficult temperament and sometimes became irritable because of his poor health. He asked us not to take it personally if Adrian spoke harshly or lost his patience. Vanessa immediately smiled and answered in a bright, agreeable voice. "Don't worry, we completely understand." Her words sounded sweet, but I saw the way her fingers tightened around the fabric of her dress. Vanessa had always been skilled at appearing cheerful in front of adults while hiding what she really felt. I said nothing. I only pressed my lips together, adjusted my hair so it covered the birthmark on my cheek, and nodded. Vanessa and I had been brought from the same rural village because we shared an unusual set of circumstances. We had both been born on the 16th day of the 6th lunar month in the year of the snake, and we had both been born near the place where Adrian's family originally came from. According to several fortune tellers consulted by Mrs. Hawthorne, one of us might be able to improve her son's fate. Adrian was 16 years old, the same age as us, but his health had been unstable since childhood. Doctors had warned the family that his condition was worsening and that he might not live beyond 20. Mrs. Hawthorne was an educated, sophisticated woman who did not normally place her faith in superstition. Still, Adrian was her only child, and fear had pushed her to consider every possible solution. The fortune tellers had all given her nearly the same advice. She was supposed to find a girl born under those specific conditions, bring her into the Hawthorne household, and allow her to grow up beside Adrian. They claimed that the girl's destiny might strengthen his and help him survive whatever mysterious illness had haunted him since birth. Because both Vanessa and I matched the description, the Hawthornes brought us to the estate so Adrian could meet us. Only one girl would eventually remain as his intended companion and possible future bride. The other would not simply be discarded. Mrs. Hawthorne had promised to pay for both girls' food, housing, and education, and even the one who was not selected would receive financial support through college. To someone like me, that promise sounded almost impossible. I had grown up with very little. I had never expected to live in a mansion, study with private tutors, or attend a university. The Hawthorne estate was so large that walking from the main gate to the house took nearly 10 minutes. The entrance hall alone seemed bigger than several homes in my village put together. As Vanessa and I stood beneath the chandeliers, servants passing through the hall slowed down to look at us. Their expressions made their thoughts obvious, even though I could not actually hear them. Why had the family brought two girls? Why was one of them so beautiful while the other looked like me? I had been born with the mark on my face, and when I was younger, it had been even darker. Against my pale skin, it stood out sharply. People in the village had called me ugly, cursed, and frightening for as long as I could remember. By 16, I had learned not to react. People treated attractive girls kindly and ignored girls like me. I no longer expected anything different. I did not need admiration. I only wanted enough food, a safe place to sleep, and the chance to attend school. While I waited in the entrance hall, a young man's voice suddenly reached me. So annoying. Everyone keeps saying I'm perfectly healthy, yet they insist on finding me a bride. What century do they think this is? I'm not agreeing to any of it. I'll send both girls home today. The voice sounded clear and close, but no young man was standing nearby. Confused, I gently tugged on Vanessa's sleeve and asked whether she could hear someone speaking. She slapped my hand away and looked at me with disgust. "Don't touch my dress with your dirty hands." I withdrew immediately. "Sorry." She turned away as if I no longer existed. I touched one ear, wondering whether exhaustion had made me imagine the voice. Then it returned. "I don't want to go downstairs. Why should I have to meet them? I'm only 16. I don't need a girlfriend. No, absolutely not." A moment later, Adrian Hawthorne appeared at the top of the grand staircase. He was tall for his age and strikingly handsome, but there was something unusual about him. His skin was so pale that it seemed almost bloodless, while his lips carried a faint, unnatural shade of red. His most remarkable feature was his eyes. When the light shifted, his pupils appeared narrow and vertical, almost like the eyes of a snake. He descended slowly, his expression cold and controlled. Inside my head, however, his thoughts were still protesting. "I don't want an arranged bride. I absolutely refuse." Then he saw me. "She is so cute." I lowered my gaze immediately. Vanessa must have been the girl he meant. Her dress made her look like a doll, while I wore a plain outfit that had been chosen for practicality rather than beauty. To give him a clearer view of her, I moved slightly to the side. His mental voice became confused. Why won't she look at me? Is there something wrong with my face? Am I not handsome enough? This is terrible. I'm becoming insecure. Vanessa stepped forward, placing herself directly between us. She extended one hand and gave Adrian her most charming smile. Are you young Master Hawthorne? I'm Vanessa. Adrian looked at her hand, then glanced around her shoulder toward me. So cute. So incredibly cute. Even the mark on her cheek looks like a butterfly. I love butterflies. My hand rose toward my birthmark before I could stop it. Why is she covering it? It's beautiful. She looks like a little forest fairy. Heat spread across my face. For a few seconds, I became so overwhelmed by the unexpected compliments that I nearly forgot the far more alarming fact that I seemed to be hearing Adrian's private thoughts. Vanessa continued holding out her hand. Adrian disliked being touched, something the butler had mentioned, but after an awkward pause, he finally shook it because refusing would have been rude. His mind sighed dramatically. I hate physical contact, but if I don't shake her hand, Mother will say I embarrassed the family. This is miserable. Vanessa did not seem to notice his discomfort. Can I call you Big Brother? No, Adrian answered immediately. Silence filled the hall. So awkward. His mind groaned. Why would she ask that? Now everyone feels uncomfortable. I want to disappear. I felt embarrassed for Vanessa, although she had never offered me the same kindness. The butler quickly stepped forward to change the subject and introduced me. This is Clara Bennett. Clara? Adrian repeated aloud. Inside his mind, the sound of my name seemed to trigger a ridiculous sequence of associations. Clara, little butterfly, little duckling, quack quack. No, why am I thinking about ducks? Stop it. I stared at him, unsure whether I had heard correctly. I'm Clara Bennett, I said softly. She's blushing. That makes her even cuter. Mother, is love at first sight real? My eyes widened. Adrian's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. His gaze sharpened as if he had noticed my reaction. The way she looks at me is strange. It almost feels as though she knows what I'm thinking. Frightened that he might discover the truth before I understood it myself, I lowered my head and pretended to study the marble floor. That night, long after Vanessa and I had been shown to the attic-style rooms prepared for us, hunger drove me out of bed. We had been served a beautiful dinner, but I had been too nervous to eat much. The butler had told us that if we became hungry during the night, we were allowed to take yogurt from the kitchen refrigerator. Even with his permission, I felt as though I were doing something wrong. In my village, taking food from a wealthy person's kitchen without being personally invited could lead to punishment. I moved through the dark corridors as quietly as possible, opened the refrigerator, and found several bottles of strawberry yogurt. I had barely removed one when Adrian's thoughts drifted toward me from somewhere nearby. I'm starving. My schedule is completely wrong. I'm sleepy during the day and wide awake at night. My legs ache, my skin itches, and everyone suddenly has a scent. Why can I smell everything so clearly now? None of this makes sense. Whatever. I need food. Panicking, I grabbed the yogurt and squeezed myself into the cabinet beneath the counter. The space was narrow, but I was small enough to fit. I pulled the door almost closed and sat in the darkness, carefully peeling the foil lid from the bottle. I licked the yogurt from the underside of the lid. It was sweet and tangy, better than anything I had ever tasted. Footsteps entered the kitchen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, where is the fifth bottle? One of my strawberry yogurts is missing. Who drank it? Who stole my strawberry yogurt? I'm going to eat them. My entire body went rigid. Eat them? For one terrified second, I wondered whether the stories I had heard about rich city people were true. Perhaps they really did eat anyone who stole from them. My hand shook, and the bottle slipped from my fingers. It rolled through the gap beneath the cabinet door and stopped against Adrian's foot. He looked down. A mouse? Realizing I had already been discovered, I pushed open the cabinet and crawled out. It was me, I whispered. I took it. I'm sorry, young master. Adrian stared at me. Not a mouse. It's my little butterfly. I bowed my head and rushed to explain. I was hungry, and the butler said we could take yogurt if we needed something at night. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have hidden. He said nothing for a moment. His gaze lingered on my face before shifting away. She is so cute. I want to bite her. No, that sounds frightening. Do not say that. She already thinks you might eat people. It's fine, Clara, he said aloud. He reached into the refrigerator, took out another bottle, and held it toward me. I hesitated, afraid that accepting more would seem greedy. Why isn't she taking it? Does she dislike strawberry? How can anyone dislike strawberry? I accepted it immediately. Thank you. Trying to appear grateful rather than frightened, I tasted the yogurt and asked what flavor it was. Adrian looked surprised. Strawberry. It's sweet and sour, I said. It's very good. Has she never eaten strawberries? Not fresh ones, I admitted before realizing he had not spoken aloud. I quickly added, I've tasted strawberry candy before, but it wasn't like this. His thoughts softened so suddenly that emotion tightened my throat. Her family must have been very poor. She has never even eaten a real strawberry. I want to buy her an entire greenhouse. No, an entire farm. But if I say that, she'll think I'm showing off. Girls probably hate show-offs. Outwardly, he remained almost expressionless. His pale face looked cool and distant, and his unusual eyes followed every movement I made. "You can have as much as you want," he said. "The kitchen is restocked every Tuesday. If anyone eats the yogurt, it doesn't matter." His mind corrected him immediately. "Actually, it matters if Vanessa eats it. If that fake smiling girl touches my strawberry yogurt, I might hiss at her, but Clara can have all of it." I bit the inside of my cheek to keep myself from laughing. The contrast between Adrian's aristocratic appearance and his childish internal complaints was almost impossible to process. "I should return to my room," I said. "The butler might think I'm wandering where I shouldn't." "Don't go," his mind protested. "The night is too long. My legs hurt and I don't want to be alone, but if I ask her to stay, she'll think I'm strange. I need to seem calm and mysterious. Go ahead," Adrian said aloud, turning toward the freezer as if he had suddenly become interested in its contents. "Be careful on the stairs. Some of the steps creak. Good night, young master. Call me Adrian." He had not said those words aloud. His mind continued as I left the kitchen. "Good night, little butterfly." By the time I reached my room, I was certain I had not imagined what was happening. Whenever I stood close enough to Adrian, his inner voice entered my mind as clearly as spoken words. I did not know why the connection existed. It might have been related to our birth dates, the fortune teller's prediction, or something neither of us understood. Vanessa was still awake when I entered. She sat in front of the mirror, brushing her long hair. The moment she saw the yogurt bottle, her eyes narrowed. "Where did you get that?" "From the kitchen. The butler said we could take some if we were hungry." She turned around and sneered. "You really are a country girl, sneaking into the kitchen in the middle of the night like a thief." I placed the empty bottle on the small table beside my bed and said nothing. Vanessa lowered her voice. "Let me make one thing clear, Clara. Don't get ideas about the young master. Did you see the way he looked at us? He refused to pay attention to you. He could barely stand looking at your face." She pointed toward my birthmark. "With that ugly thing, you're only here to make me look better. Mrs. Hawthorne will choose me. I'll marry into this family, attend an excellent school, and live in luxury. You're just the charity case they'll send away afterward." I had learned long ago that disagreeing with Vanessa only encouraged her. Letting her believe she had won was usually the fastest way to end the conversation. "You're probably right," I said, pulling the blanket over myself. "Good night," Vanessa scoffed and turned off the light. In the darkness, I touched the mark on my cheek. Even the mark on her face is adorable. It looks like a butterfly. For the first time in my life, someone had seen the feature everyone else called a defect and found something beautiful in it. Adrian had not intended for me to hear him, which somehow made the compliment more meaningful. He had no reason to flatter me or pretend to be kind. A small smile appeared on my face as I fell asleep. Over the next several weeks, Vanessa and I gradually learned the rhythm of the Hawthorne household. Because Adrian's health prevented him from attending an ordinary school, private tutors came to the estate each day. Mrs. Hawthorne decided that Vanessa and I would study with him. She explained that compatibility involved more than superstition. She wanted to see how we behaved, how well we learned, and whether either of us could become a stable companion for her son. Vanessa immediately volunteered to carry Adrian's books and organize his study materials. I simply thanked Mrs. Hawthorne and tried not to attract attention. The study was lined with tall shelves filled with leather-bound books. Large windows allowed bright morning sunlight to spill across the long wooden table. Adrian was already seated when Vanessa and I entered for our first lesson. In daylight, he looked even paler than he had in the entrance hall. Dark shadows rested beneath his eyes, as though he had barely slept. So tired. His mind groaned. "Why does the sun have to be this bright? My eyes burn. I want to shed my skin." "Wait, humans don't say that. I want to sleep." Then he noticed me. "Little butterfly is here. She's wearing green. She looks like a leaf, a perfect little leaf for a butterfly to rest on. Why is her hair hiding her face again?" "I want to move it, but that would be rude. Control yourself." I opened my notebook and took the chair farthest from him, hoping distance would quiet his thoughts. Vanessa immediately sat beside Adrian. "Good morning, Adrian," she said sweetly. She had covered herself in a heavy vanilla perfume. Adrian flinched. "What is that smell? It's like a chemical factory exploded inside a bakery. My nose is burning. If I sneeze on her, she'll cry, and mother will blame me. Move away. Please move away." Without explaining, he shifted his chair several inches in my direction. His thoughts relaxed. "Much better. Clara smells like rain falling on wild grass. Cool and clean. I want to curl up beside her and sleep for 100 years. My face warmed. I stared down at my notebook and forced myself to focus as the tutor began a lesson on European history. It quickly became clear that Adrian was extremely intelligent. He remembered details after hearing them once and silently corrected several dates before the tutor noticed his own mistakes. At the same time, Adrian was in constant physical discomfort. His thoughts moved between the lesson and the pain in his body. "My legs feel as if they're being crushed inside iron bands. The doctors call it growing pain, but bones aren't supposed to feel as though they're rearranging themselves. My back itches again. Don't scratch. If you scratch, everyone will notice." I glanced toward him. His expression remained perfectly controlled, but both hands gripped the edge of the table. His knuckles had turned white. During the midday break, the tutor left the room, and Vanessa went upstairs to repair her makeup. For the first time that day, Adrian and I were alone. His hands were still trembling. "Young master," I said quietly, "are your legs hurting badly?" He stiffened and looked directly at me. "What makes you think that?" Inside his mind, panic spread. How did she know? Is it obvious? Am I showing weakness? I'm supposed to inherit this family. I cannot let people see me struggling. "I noticed how tightly you were holding the table," I explained. "My grandmother's joints used to hurt when the weather changed. She soaked them in warm water with mugwort. I don't know whether it would help you, but it sometimes helped her." His suspicion slowly gave way to warmth. She noticed. She was watching me because she cared. Mugwort could be a weed growing beside the road, and I would still try it if she recommended it, but I need to sound dignified. "It's only minor fatigue," he said aloud, straightening his shoulders. "Still, I suppose I could ask the butler whether mugwort is available." His mind was far less restrained. "I'm ordering 10 tons of it." I smiled despite myself. "I hope it helps." Adrian studied me for several seconds. "Why do you keep doing that?" "Doing what?" "Hiding your face." He gestured toward the hair covering my left cheek. "You don't need to." His thoughts added what his voice could not. "I want to see all of her face." "It's beautiful. The mark makes her look special, like a fairy who walked out of the forest." "People in my village said it was a curse," I admitted. "They said it made me ugly." "They were fools," Adrian snapped. His voice came out louder than he intended. A faint trace of color appeared on his cheeks, and he turned toward the window. "The people in your village clearly have no understanding of beauty," he added more quietly. His mind was furious on my behalf. "They are blind. If I ever visit that village, I'll buy all their land and turn it into a swamp." "No, a swamp would be too pleasant. I'll make it a giant garbage dump." "How dare they make her ashamed of herself?" A laugh escaped me before I could stop it. Adrian turned back, his eyes widening. She laughed. "Her laugh is beautiful. It sounds like bells." "What's funny?" he asked. "Nothing." For the first time, I deliberately tucked my hair behind my ear and allowed him to see the entire birthmark. "Thank you, Adrian." The moment I used his name, he froze. She called me Adrian. She finally called me Adrian. My heart is beating too fast. Is this a heart attack? I'm only 16. I can't die now. I haven't even held her hand. "You're welcome," he managed. His voice cracked slightly. He picked up his history book and raised it in front of his face, apparently hoping to hide his blush. The book was upside down. I pressed my lips together to stop myself from laughing again. To everyone else, Adrian Hawthorne appeared cold, intimidating, and difficult to approach. To me, he was becoming one of the most endearing people I had ever met. As summer deepened, however, Adrian's condition worsened. He began missing lessons, then stopped coming to the study entirely. Mrs. Hawthorne grew visibly more anxious. The butler moved through the estate with a permanent tension in his expression, and physicians came and went at all hours. Vanessa treated Adrian's illness as an opportunity to display devotion. Every day she asked to deliver soup, medicine, or flowers to his room. Each time, the butler stopped her. "The young master is resting and does not wish to be disturbed." Vanessa pretended to be disappointed for Adrian's sake, but I could see her frustration. She wanted the family to witness her playing the role of a caring future wife. I knew Adrian's isolation had nothing to do with a desire for privacy. At night, when the estate became quiet, fragments of his thoughts drifted through the walls. "It burns. Why is my skin peeling? My legs hurt. I can't feel my toes. They feel as if they're being pressed together. What is happening to me?" On some nights, his thoughts were faint. On others, they struck my mind with such force that I woke gasping. "I'm becoming a monster. Don't let anyone see. Don't let Clara see me." One night, shortly after 2 in the morning, the pain in his voice became unbearable. "My skin is too tight. I can't breathe. It won't come off. Please make it stop." I slipped out of bed without waking Vanessa and followed the sound of his thoughts down the staircase. I had never been shown the private family wing, but I did not need directions. The closer I came to Adrian, the clearer his mind became. At the end of the eastern corridor, I stopped before a pair of heavy wooden doors. From inside came a faint, dry rustling sound. I pressed one hand against the door. "Adrian?" A sharp hiss broke the silence. "Go away," he gasped from inside. His mind screamed something different. "No, why is she here? She can't see me like this. There are scales on my arms. My legs are changing. I'm disgusting. She'll run away." I tested the handle and found the door unlocked. After stepping inside, I closed it quietly behind me. The room was almost completely dark. Heavy curtains blocked the moonlight, and the air felt warm and humid. It carried an earthy scent, like wet soil after rain. "Adrian," I whispered. "I told you to leave." His voice sounded rough and strained. "Please don't look at me," his thoughts begged. "I love you too much to let you see this. You'll be disgusted." Hearing the fear inside him erased what little fear I felt for myself. "I'm not leaving," I said. "You're in pain." I moved toward the bed, allowing my eyes time to adjust. A large shape was curled beneath the blankets. Each time Adrian shifted, the dry rustling sound returned. "You don't understand," he whispered. "You don't know what I am." I stopped beside the bed. My family carries something they call the blood of the great serpent. It does not appear in every generation, but sometimes a child is born with it. The doctors can't explain it, and they can't cure it. That's why my mother consulted the fortune tellers. His breathing became uneven. I'm not completely human, Clara. I'm becoming something else. They brought you here because they believe your fate can control mine. For all we know, you were meant to become a sacrifice to this curse. I knelt beside him. I don't care. Before he could stop me, I reached beneath the blanket and touched his arm. Adrian flinched violently. His skin felt cool and dry beneath my fingers. A thin, translucent layer covered it, peeling in several places like delicate paper. Beneath that layer, the newly exposed skin radiated heat. For one suspended moment, his mind went completely quiet. Then wonder replaced his panic. She touched me. She isn't running away. Her hand is warm. The burning stops wherever she touches. Does it hurt when the skin comes off? I asked. Yes, he whispered. Some parts stick. If I pull too hard, it bleeds. Let me help you. I sat carefully on the edge of the bed and pulled the blanket back just far enough to expose one arm. In the dim light beneath the door, the loose skin shimmered faintly like an empty shell. Tell me if I hurt you. I found an edge near his wrist and slowly lifted it. It doesn't hurt, his mind whispered. It feels like cool water on a burn. I want her to keep touching me forever. The dead layer came away in long, delicate pieces, revealing smooth, pale skin beneath. I worked slowly, stopping whenever Adrian's body tensed. As I continued, a strange warmth began pulsing through the birthmark on my cheek. The rhythm matched his heartbeat. Adrian's breathing gradually steadied. The muscles in his arm relaxed, and the pain that had filled his thoughts began to fade. Why aren't you afraid? He asked. Because you called my birthmark a butterfly, I answered. A monster wouldn't see something everyone else hated and call it beautiful. Emotion moved through our connection so powerfully that my chest tightened. I want to protect her, Adrian thought. I want to survive. I want to live past 20, become strong, and build a life where no one can ever hurt her again. I don't want to die before I have the chance to stay beside her. You're not going to die, I whispered. I won't let you. Adrian looked up sharply. What did you say? I realized I had responded directly to a thought he had never spoken. I said you're going to be fine. I corrected quickly. He watched me for a moment but did not question me further. Exhaustion finally overcame him. His eyes closed and his expression became peaceful. She's my miracle, his mind murmured as he drifted to sleep. My little butterfly. His hand moved across the blanket until his fingers loosely closed around mine. I remained beside him until just before dawn. By morning, Adrian's fever had broken. When the butler entered with breakfast, he found Adrian sitting upright, looking healthier than he had in months. The terrible pain in his joints had disappeared. His skin was clear, his eyes were focused, and he could move his legs without difficulty. The butler immediately called Mrs. Hawthorne. She rushed into the room, saw her son awake, and burst into tears. She wrapped her arms around him while repeatedly calling his recovery a miracle. Adrian accepted the embrace with his usual restrained expression. His mind complained. Mother, you're crushing me. Your perfume is too strong. Where is Clara? Why did they make her leave before morning? I stood quietly near the back of the room beside Vanessa. Vanessa wore an expression of carefully arranged happiness, but when she noticed how tired I looked, her smile hardened. Her gaze fell on the cuff of my sweater, where a tiny translucent piece of Adrian's shed skin had become caught in the fabric. She knew I had been in his room. That afternoon, while the household prepared a celebration dinner, Vanessa cornered me in our bedroom and slammed the door. You think you're clever, don't you? She demanded. You sneaked into his room last night. What did you do to him? He was in pain. I helped him. The butler said no one was allowed inside. Did you steal a key? Did you use some kind of village witchcraft? I didn't use anything. Vanessa grabbed my arm, digging her nails into my skin. You're lying. You've been pretending to be quiet and harmless while trying to take everything from me. She released me and reached into her pocket. When she opened her hand, a silver amulet rested in her palm. It was shaped like a coiled serpent with small green stones for eyes. I recognized it from a locked display case in the library. The butler had once explained that it was an old Hawthorne family heirloom believed to protect the bearer. Vanessa smiled. You stole this. My stomach tightened. No, I didn't. I found it hidden in your drawer. You put it there. Her smile widened. Who will believe that? The family knows someone forced open the display case. Who do you think they'll trust? Me? Or the girl with a curse on her face? She closed her fingers around the amulet. When Mrs. Hawthorne learns you're a thief, she'll send you back to the village. Then I'll be the only possible bride left. Before I could respond, Vanessa ran into the corridor shouting for the butler. Within minutes, I was taken to the main hall. Mrs. Hawthorne sat on a high-backed sofa, her expression grave. The silver amulet had been placed on the marble table before her. Vanessa stood nearby with tears in her eyes, while the butler remained behind Mrs. Hawthorne. Clara, Mrs. Hawthorne began. Vanessa says she found this heirloom inside your vanity drawer. Someone damaged the lock on the library display case. What do you have to say? I didn't steal it, I answered. My hands were trembling, but I forced my voice to remain steady. Vanessa placed it in my room. Vanessa released a wounded gasp. Mrs. Hawthorne frowned. Why would she do that? Because she wants me sent away. Vanessa began crying. I tried to be kind to her. I saw her near the library yesterday, but I didn't want to accuse her without proof. This morning I was looking for my hairbrush and found the amulet beneath her clothes. I'm sorry I didn't speak sooner. She sounded convincing. Vanessa had spent years perfecting the ability to make adults trust her. Mrs. Hawthorne looked disappointed rather than angry, which hurt even more. I offered both of you safety and an education, she said. I cannot tolerate theft, especially the theft of an object this important to our family. The butler's voice was formal and cold. I will arrange for Clara to be returned to the village. My heart sank. Losing the mansion or the money was not what frightened me. I could survive poverty because I had done it all my life. What terrified me was leaving Adrian alone with his illness. No one else knew what he endured behind the locked doors of his room. No one else could hear him when the pain became too severe for him to speak. Wait, Adrian's voice carried down the staircase. Everyone turned. He descended in a dark suit, moving with a confidence I had not seen before. The recovery had changed the way he carried himself. He looked taller, stronger, and far more imposing. His mind was filled with rage. These absolute fools, how dare they accuse my butterfly? Vanessa, you scheming snake. No, snakes are beautiful. She's a toad. A horrible, lying toad. I'm going to expose her. Adrian, Mrs. Hawthorne said, rising. You should be resting. This concerns my future, he replied. His eyes found mine first. For a fraction of a second, the coldness in his expression softened. Then he faced his mother. The amulet was not stolen. Mrs. Hawthorne looked at him in confusion. I gave it to Clara, Adrian continued smoothly. I removed it from the library 3 days ago. I wanted her to have it as a sign of my gratitude. I knew he was lying to protect me, but no one else could tell. His expression remained perfectly calm. Vanessa's mouth fell open, but I found it hidden beneath her clothes. Why would she hide it if you gave it to her? Adrian turned toward her. Because Clara is modest and does not display valuable objects to attract attention. His voice sharpened. The more important question is why you were searching through her private belongings. Do you regularly go through other people's clothing? Vanessa's face turned red. I was looking for my hairbrush. Liar, Adrian's mind sang. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Outwardly. He looked at her with pure aristocratic contempt. You entered Clara's room to plant the amulet, he said. I know, because the corridor is monitored. Vanessa's eyes widened. Adrian looked back at his mother. The security team keeps recordings from the 3rd floor. We can ask them to show us this morning's footage. I expect it will show Vanessa entering the room with something silver in her hand and leaving without it. The color drained from Vanessa's face. No, she stammered. That won't be necessary. I may have made a mistake. Perhaps I picked it up without realizing. Enough, Mrs. Hawthorne said. She was frightened for her son, but she was not foolish. Vanessa's panic had revealed more than any confession could have. Mrs. Hawthorne turned to the butler. Pack Vanessa's belongings and send her home. This family has no place for someone who plants evidence and lies about an innocent person. Vanessa began protesting, but the butler stepped forward and guided her from the hall. Her cries faded along the corridor. Adrian's face remained composed. His mind celebrated wildly. She's gone. Goodbye, Toad. No more perfume. No more fake smiling. Now it's only Clara and me. Mrs. Hawthorne studied Adrian, then looked at me. Something in her expression changed. She seemed to understand that her son's sudden recovery and his determination to defend me were connected. The fortune tellers may have been right about one thing, she said quietly. This was never a choice we could make for him. She paused. Clara, you will stay. Relief weakened my knees. I bowed my head. Thank you, Mrs. Hawthorne. From that day forward, my place in the household was no longer uncertain. Over the next 2 years, Adrian's health improved steadily. The connection between us seemed to stabilize whatever strange force existed inside his body. His fevers became rare, the crippling pain disappeared, and the transformations that had once terrified him became manageable. When shedding began, he no longer locked himself away until the pain became unbearable. He told the butler he needed privacy, and I helped him remove the fragile layers before they could tear and injure the new skin beneath. Neither of us explained the full truth to anyone, although Mrs. Hawthorne seemed to understand more than she ever said. We grew up together. I studied literature with private instructors and later earned admission to an excellent university. Mrs. Hawthorne kept her promise and paid my tuition. For the first time in my life, I could think about a future built on something other than survival. The mark on my cheek gradually faded from dark brown to a soft shade of pink. Its shape became even more clearly defined, like a butterfly resting against my skin. I stopped hiding it behind my hair. Adrian also changed. By 18, he had grown tall and broad-shouldered. His face had lost some of its fragile appearance, although his skin remained unusually pale and his pupils still narrowed under certain light. He began taking an active role in the Hawthorne family's businesses and quickly developed a reputation for being brilliant, demanding, and impossible to intimidate. Employees and business partners saw a cold young heir who could identify a mistake in a financial report within seconds. I still heard the boy inside his head. Why are meetings so long? I want strawberry yogurt. Where is Clara? Has she eaten lunch? Someone should remind her. No, I should remind her, but I can't look too concerned. His thoughts remained honest, dramatic, and endlessly affectionate. Our 18th birthday fell on the same date, June 16th. To celebrate, Mrs. Hawthorne hosted a formal gala at the estate. It marked both our birthdays and Adrian's official introduction into the family's social and business circles. The ballroom glowed beneath crystal chandeliers. Guests in elegant evening clothes moved between tables. Musicians played near the far wall, and nearly every important person connected to the Hawthorne family seemed to be present. I wore a simple emerald green gown. Around my neck rested the serpent amulet Vanessa had once used to frame me. After the truth came out, Adrian had insisted that I keep it for real. During the gala, I escaped to the balcony for a few quiet minutes. The noise inside had become overwhelming, and the cool night air helped me breathe. Then Adrian's thoughts reached me from across the ballroom. Where is she? I've been trapped with these board directors for half an hour. My collar is too tight. I want to tear it off. I want to hold Clara's hand. A few seconds later, he spotted me. There she is. She looks like a goddess from the forest. Everyone is staring at her. Why are they staring? I want to block their view. Only I should be allowed to look at her like that. I turned as he stepped onto the balcony. Adrian looked breathtaking in his dark, tailored suit. The crowd seemed to part naturally whenever he walked through it, but the severity in his expression softened when he reached me. Are you hiding from the guests? He asked. I'm enjoying the breeze. He stood beside me, close enough for his shoulder to brush mine. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Music drifted through the open doors behind us. Then his thoughts changed. I want to kiss her. The maturity and intensity in his inner voice made my breath catch. I've waited 2 years. We're 18 now. I could ask her to stay with me because she chooses to, not because of a fortune teller or an arrangement. But what if she only sees me as someone she had to care for? What if she doesn't love me the way I love her? Emotion rose so quickly inside me that my eyes filled with tears. Adrian noticed and immediately became alarmed. Why is she crying? Did I do something? Is she unhappy here? I'll cancel the entire party. I'll throw everyone out. Before his thoughts could spiral further, I reached for his hand and intertwined my fingers with his. He stared down at our joined hands. Clara, Adrian, I said quietly. Yes? I looked into his unusual eyes. I can hear you. He blinked. What? I've always been able to hear you. From the first day we met. For the first time since I had known him, Adrian's mind became completely silent. I heard you complaining about the arranged marriage, I continued. I heard you call my birthmark a butterfly. I heard you threaten to turn my village into a garbage dump. I heard you counting your yogurt bottles in the kitchen. I heard you when you were in pain, and I heard every time you wanted to protect me. Adrian remained frozen. Color spread slowly from his collar to his face until he was redder than the wine being served inside. Finally, his thoughts returned in a tiny, horrified voice. She heard everything? His mental panic exploded. Every embarrassing thought, every childish thought, every time I called her cute, every time I imagined buying her a strawberry farm. I need to dig a hole and live underground. No, I need to hibernate for 3,000 years. I laughed and rested my head against his shoulder. Please don't hibernate. He looked down at me, still speechless. I love you too, I said. I love the things you say aloud, and I love every ridiculous thought you try to hide. The fear inside his mind disappeared. In its place came such pure, overwhelming joy that it felt like sunlight flooding through our connection. Adrian wrapped both arms around me and pulled me close. You really are a telepathic little butterfly, he whispered. His lips touched my forehead near the edge of my birthmark. And you're my handsome prince, I whispered back. His mind corrected me proudly. Actually, I'm a dragon. A powerful, terrifying dragon. I smiled against his chest. He held me more tightly. And she is my treasure. His thoughts continued, warm and certain. I'm never letting her go. Beneath the silver moonlight, with music drifting from the ballroom and Adrian's heartbeat steady beneath my ear, I finally understood that the destiny bringing us together had never been a punishment. It was not the curse Vanessa believed she could steal from me, nor the arrangement Adrian had once been determined to reject. It was a promise we had chosen to keep.